So in this video, we're going to compare two different mesh Wi-Fi systems. We've got the Eero 3-pack, which is now owned by Amazon, and we've got the TPLink Deco M4. And since Eero is owned by Amazon, they also threw in their new Echo Dot to make it an even better deal than what it already is. So I'm looking to upgrade my Wi-Fi in my home, and the reason I chose these two systems is both of them are pretty affordable, but these were both on sale. One was $140 and the other was right around $189. And I'll leave a link in the description below with current pricing and more information on each of these systems. And one thing I would like is just better coverage for my entire house, especially considering I keep adding more and more Wi-Fi devices. So first, let's take a look at the TP-Link Deco M4. And this is compatible with Amazon Alexa and the If This Then That app. Now it says this one covers up to 5,500 square feet and it's ideal for 3 to 5 bedroom houses. And this is an AC 1200 system. You can connect up to 100 devices on this. It's got enhanced dual band speeds. You can expand your Wi-Fi anytime by adding more decos. And it does work with all deco models. You can get up to 300 megabits per second on the 2.4 gigahertz, plus 867 megabits per second on 5 gigahertz. Mesh protocol is 802.11 kV&R. This does have the MU-MIMO, IPv6 compatible, optional Ethernet backhaul, 2 gigabit ports per deco unit, and the app for this one works on Android 4.3 or later and iOS 9.0 or later. So let's go ahead and open it up and see what we've got. Okay, so these are definitely a little larger than I thought they would be, but still not too bad. It does come with a pretty nice looking flat Ethernet cable and actually a pretty nice looking power adapter for each one. So each little device or router, however you want to call it, actually is pretty nice and lightweight. It's got a cool little electric oven looking design on the top, your 2 Ethernet ports there on the back, and then you just plug in the power on the bottom, and there's also a reset button. So that's pretty much the unboxing part for the TP-Link Deco M4. Now let's take a look at the Eero Mesh Wi-Fi system. Now you can get this in several configurations. This is the 3-pack. And this one covers up to 5,000 square feet, where the TP-Link covered up to 5,500. So we'll have to see if that makes a difference on our internet speeds when testing. And just like the TP-Link Deco, the app for this one is available on iOS and Android. And it looks like this one only takes less than 10 minutes to set up. So that's definitely a nice thing about these mesh Wi-Fi systems. And of course, this one works with Alexa. Now this one is also a dual band Wi-Fi system with 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. And it also has support for UPnP, DHCP, IPv6, and port forwarding. It also has 2x2 MU-MIMO, 802.11a, b, g, n, and AC. And it also has WPA2 wireless encryption. So let's go ahead and open it up and see what we've got. First thing I notice is these seem quite a bit smaller than the TP-Link Deco. Now these definitely look a little more sleek and modern than the TP-Link in my opinion. Even on the bottom there's a rubberized texture to keep these from moving around, which again just looks really nice. And then you plug the power there on the back and you've got 2 Ethernet ports. Okay, so pretty nice presentation here. So it looks like you've just got 3 steps to get these set up. You just download the app, disconnect your modem and anything connected to it. Then you just open the app up and follow along with the step-by-step instructions. And some really sleek looking adapters here. It looks to be a USB-C adapter. Again, so far, everything in this box definitely feels high quality. And then also included, just like the TP-Link, is a short Ethernet cable. And of course, there's no markings on it to tell you whether it's Cat 5, Cat 6, or Cat 7. But obviously, you can always use your own Ethernet cables. Here's a quick size comparison, just so you can see the difference. You could probably stack 3 or 4 of the Eeros on top of each other to equal the size of one of the TP-Link Deco M4s. Okay, so that's everything included with the Eero Mesh Wi-Fi system. So now let's go ahead and download the app and get it set up. So I've got to say, setup for the Deco M4 was extremely simple. For me, it was just a matter of unplugging the old router and plugging in these new ones. Now there's a lot of good stuff within the app that you can control. Now the nice thing is it will give you a list of everything connected to your Wi-Fi. I've currently got 22 devices online and I've got about 10 devices offline. So for instance, let's click on the OnePlus 7 Pro. You'll see here it is linked to the kitchen Deco. And then once you click on which one it's linked to, it'll show you all the devices connected to that Deco. Now the bad thing is I can't figure out how to change which Deco you're connected to. It seems like it splits up the devices between those 3 Decos in pretty much whatever order they want to. And then you can also see that the signal source for all 3 Decos are from Ethernet to the basement. So for the most stable connection, they do recommend you run an Ethernet cable from each Deco to the main one. So I've got the main Deco in the basement acting as the router. Then I've got one set up in the office, and then I've got one set up in the kitchen. So then I've got the main basement Deco hooked up to an Ethernet switch, and then the other 2 Decos are connected to that switch. Now another nice thing is you can click on certain devices and you can give some devices high priority over others. It also allows you to turn the mesh technology on or off for each device. It also lets you rename each device that's on your network, which makes it really convenient instead of some weird model number. Now my internet provider had their router set up as a 2.4 gigahertz and a 5 gigahertz connection, which I really liked because then I could tell which one I was on. So I decided to use the guest network as the 2.4 gigahertz and the main one as the faster 5 gigahertz. There's also a lot of advanced settings that you can tweak, but I didn't really mess with any of those settings for this video. You can also block certain devices that have access to your Wi-Fi. And then you've also got things like parental controls, QoS, monthly report, and managers. And it also has a monthly report. And you can see here I've added 32 new devices to the network. Once you have the Eero app installed, it's fairly similar to the TP-Link. It just looks a little bit different. Here at the top, it'll show you your most recent devices connected to your network. And then here towards the bottom, it's going to show your 3 different Eero devices, which you can click on each one. And it's going to tell you which devices are connected to each Eero. It'll show you what type of connection you've got. As you can see, this is wired through Ethernet backhaul. And there's 8 devices connected to the office router, 12 devices connected to the kitchen router, and 4 devices connected to the basement router. And then down at the bottom, it does show what your internet speed is the last time that you ran the built-in speed test. Now there's quite a few settings within the app that you can tweak if necessary, such as guest access, family profiles, integrations, network settings, Eero Secure. You can also add Eero devices, help, account information, and you can switch from this network to another network that you've got set up. Even though it lets you set up a guest access, unfortunately it doesn't let you specify whether the guest network or the main network is 5 gigahertz or 2.4 gigahertz. And you can also choose which notifications you want, whether it's software updates or when a new device connects to your network. You can also click right here towards the top and it'll show all devices connected to your network. And then down towards the bottom, it'll show you devices that were recently connected, but they may be powered off right now. And the nice thing about both of these mesh Wi-Fi systems, you can actually keep adding devices to this network depending on how much square footage you need to cover. So the good thing is both of these mesh Wi-Fi systems are some of the easiest routers I've ever set up. It's just a matter of downloading the app and following a couple step-by-step instructions. I don't even know if it took 10 minutes each to be up and running. Now I use a local company that has fiber optic internet, so I didn't have to mess with a modem. It's just a direct connection from a small Ethernet port on the wall straight to the main mesh router. So your setup may vary depending on what type of internet you have. So which was easier to set up? Well, for me, I thought it was super easy to get both set up and was pretty much a tie. So I think what most people are going to be looking for is which has the faster download speeds. Well, here's where it gets a bit tricky. With the router from my internet service provider, here's the speeds that I was getting. They set it up as a 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz connection, so we could decide which we wanted to connect to. You can see the 2.4 gigahertz speeds aren't that great considering we're paying for 100 megabits per second. But when you switch to the 5 gigahertz band, we actually get above 100 megabits per second. That is until you go to the end of our driveway where it was about 30. Now here's a chart that shows the router from my current internet service provider versus the TPLink Deco M4 versus the Eero. You can see it's pretty similar in speeds until you get to the garage and driveway, since those are the furthest away from the routers. You can see the TP-Link has faster speeds at both of those locations. But this is when it starts to get pretty interesting when you start to compare the 2.4 gigahertz speeds. This chart only shows my current internet service provider versus TP-Link because Eero doesn't allow you to choose which bands you are connected to, which is not a good thing in my opinion. And you can see the TP-Link destroys the router from my internet service provider. So which has the faster speeds? In most cases, the TP-Link Deco M4. So which is the better mesh Wi-Fi system? Well, with the Deco M4, there seems to be sometimes when testing with my phone that is connected to a Deco device that is further away from where I am located. For instance, I'll be close to the office Deco, but it's still connected to the kitchen. Now, it's supposed to have a feature where it automatically switches from one Deco to the next as you move throughout your house, but from my testing, that wasn't always the case. With Eero, it does seem to switch between devices a little bit better than the TP-Link, but unfortunately not always. One thing that I don't quite understand is it'll put 18 to 19 devices all on one router instead of spreading them out more evenly like the TP-Link does. And speeds only drop slightly when comparing the wireless to wired backhaul connections. The Deco M4 speeds were pretty consistent for the most part, but every now and then I would try to do a speed test and it would try to use a Deco that was far away versus the closest one to me. But then if I turn off the Wi-Fi and reconnect my phone, it would fix the problem, but not always. So as you can see, neither of these systems are perfect, but I feel like you can't go wrong with either of these mesh Wi-Fi systems, especially when you're comparing the price to the competition. Although I do have to say, if you're gonna buy the Eero Wi-Fi system, don't buy it at full price. It goes on sale periodically. I think the Eero Wi-Fi system is geared more towards people that just want to connect their new router and start using it right away without worrying about settings like which Wi-Fi bands you're connecting to or anything like that. So if I had to choose between these two mesh Wi-Fi systems, I would go with the TP-Link Deco M4. Because it allows you to do the exact same thing as the Eero for people that don't want to mess with settings. It's faster, and it allows people like me who may want to have a little more control over their network decide which devices are using which bands to maximize how fast the speeds are. Plus, I actually prefer the TP-Link app slightly over the Eero app. So if you've made it this far into the video, you may want to say thanks by subscribing, and don't forget to give a thumbs up if this video was helpful. This is Brian from Fishbee Productions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.